Today, we're here to give an update on the Bar PM case. We filed 2 lawsuits today against Officer Ramelle Wallace and another officer for their actions against my clients, Mr. Pence and Mr. Morris. The lawsuit that we filed regarding Mr. Pence pertains to Officer Wallace illegally handcuffing him, putting him in danger with another officer after a St. Louis City officer crashed into their bar. We also, during the investigation of this, found another case where Officer Wallace attacked a person at the St. Louis jail. This is the 4th different incident of malfeasance that we found from Officer Wallace. He currently has a lawsuit pending against him for beating a handcuffed suspect, actually not even a suspect, a person who was standing outside of their apartment and complaining about what Officer Wallace was doing to somebody else. That person claims that Officer Wallace handcuffed him, body slammed him to the ground while handcuffed, breaking his clavicle and breaking his leg in 2 spots. We also found a complaint that Officer Wallace's neighbor made against him in 2010, where she claimed that he choked her, threw her against the trunk of a car, and put a gun to her stomach. So today we're filing a lawsuit on behalf of Mr. Pence and on behalf of Mr. Hopkins, who was the person who was attacked by Officer Wallace last summer in the jail. We're really concerned about the fact that this officer has a history of attacking people. This is now the 4th claim that we know of. Why is he on the streets, and why is the circuit attorney's office taking his word for what happened, even though the video shows exactly the opposite, and still prosecuting Mr. Morris? Mr. Morris has his next court date on next week. This has been going on for at least 6 months, and it's going to take many more months for us to clear his name. Yet they're still defending this officer who was beating people left and right. We'll have copies of those lawsuits for you very soon. And I'm going to have Mr. Pence just really quickly just tell you about how he feels now. I mean, both of my clients were terrified that night. This has been awful for them. And then now to learn this police officer's history and to know that the taxpayers are paying for him to walk the streets and beat the citizens. I'll have Mr. Pence just really briefly tell you about how that makes him feel.
I'm just shocked that it took this event to find out how many other events this officer's been involved in, and the city has done nothing to prevent it or take him off the streets. And I'm sad that the prosecutor's office is defending his actions when there is a proven track record of his behavior over many years.
I'll take a few questions right now.
If you have that many recorded incidents of somebody beating people, what do you think that says about his conduct maybe on a day-to-day basis or on a broader scale?
I mean, it took us, without doing any discovery, very little work to find 4 times this has happened. I would not be shocked if there are dozens of other times. You can see in the history of police departments that there's often people who are repeat offenders. And if any one of these allegations is true, he should have been fired years ago. But I can see, this lawsuit where he handcuffed a person, body slammed the person, breaking that person's leg in 2 spots and shoulder, happened on the same street as Bar PM, happened about the same time of night, and before we even knew anything, when I read the lawsuit, it is verbatim what happened to Mr. Pence. A person standing there, the officer comes up, begins to yell at somebody for no reason, and then falsely accuse them of disturbing the peace when all they're doing is asking the officer why he's not being professional. It took, remember, these 2 people were working at their bars, the same building that they sleep in. A police car crashes into the bar, devastates the bar, and then when Officer Wallace shows up, within 22 seconds of arriving on the scene, he has Mr. Pence in handcuffs. And he's accusing him of disturbing the peace. Why? Because Mr. Pence asked, why is he being treated like he's the suspect? It was Officer Wallace's job to look at the officer who crashed into the building to determine if he was drunk or impaired. He never did that. We've seen the body cam videos. There's no breathalyzer given there. Instead, they immediately move to cover up what they did wrong by making the victims the bad guys here. And you guys all saw this at the PGA Championships with Scotty Scheffler. But at least in that town, and maybe it's because he's a rich white man, but in that town, once the evidence was shown to the prosecutors, they stopped pursuing that ridiculous case. This case has been front page news all across the world, especially in the gay communities. It's been covered in the Netherlands. They've seen the videos. They've seen the same videos you guys have seen. And they're still moving forward like Chad Morris was the bad guy. They don't talk about how the officers took Mr. Pence down a dark gangway away from everybody. So, and it's a misdemeanor charge. The fact that they're going to expend these types of resources, we're going to fight this vigorously. We're going to depose many people. I think we've just requested depositions of 8 different people. If this is what the Circuit Attorney's Office thinks is the best way to use their resources and prosecute victims while protecting bad cops, then we've got to look at what's going on there.
What about the bar? Have the repairs been made, and did the city pay for any of those repairs?
No, the city has not paid for any of the repairs. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. The city has not paid for any of the repairs yet. They have forced us to go through the insurance company, and the repairs are happening now, not complete yet.
We are, at this point, we are over 5 months since that happened. Over 5 months that their windows are still boarded up.
What are these lawsuits seeking?
One of the things we've learned in this city is that officers promising that they're going to change doesn't happen. These are seeking money damages, holding these officers accountable. If the police department and the circuit attorney's office isn't willing to do it, we will do that by lawsuits. We will expose officers who have this type of record. But yes, we're asking for money. And this will be just another way that taxpayer money goes towards bad officers.
Is there someone specifically who has failed to address the conduct of that officer?
We don't know yet because we haven't done discovery yet in this case, but with an officer of this history, there's supposed to be safeguards with internal affairs, with their managers, with people who are supposed to investigate them. The circuit attorney's office is also supposed to hold them accountable. And since the lawsuit that was filed by other attorneys regarding the man whose arm and, the man whose shoulder bone and legs were broken, we now have 2 different cases where he's attacked people. So whatever they're allegedly doing isn't working.
I know we talked about the physical damage at the bar, but what is that emotional or physical damage that this officer has implemented on your life?
I will say this because, Chad, I asked him if he wanted to speak today, and he doesn't. I mean, you could look at him right now and see that this is emotionally difficult for him. This is emotionally difficult for the couple. Running a bar in St. Louis, especially in that part of town, is hard. Running a business with your spouse is difficult. Adding to that all of the extra stress of wondering what's going to happen in this criminal case. If they didn't have attorneys, this would still be a felony charge. They could lose their liquor license on this. I mean, in my life, just dealing with summer camp is a stress between me and my spouse. I can't even imagine what dealing with somebody attacking your business and threatening your freedom would be like.
We're reminded of it every day when we get home because the building's still not fixed. So it's every day we're reminded we cannot move forward until everything is fixed. And that's not happening. So every day is just stressful.
And we've got to go back to court in a week, and there's not going to be a trial date on this for many, many months. This is going to be a sword hanging over their head unless somebody looks and says, wow, these aren't the types of cases we should be taking. But that's up to them. We're very confident that when a jury looks at this information, they'll understand who the bad guys were, and they'll hold them accountable. And then we truly believe that another jury is going to make this officer pay and make the city pay.